Everybody, it's time for your weekly update from the podcast. It's Francis, as it always is. Don't I fucking just love to hear myself speak? So this week, it is currently, what's today? Today's the 23rd. 23rd of March. I like to, stamp, time and date stamp these, 7:50 p.m. On Central Time, because God knows what fucking weird shit's going to happen between now and whenever you end up watching this. So I'm going to read, we're going to do a little bit of reading, but there is something very, very odd that I ended up reading. So, I mean, it's odd, but also fucking frightening, I guess. I guess it's like how we should be seeing it. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Gunman ambushes National Guard convoy carrying COVID vaccines in Texas. So these fucking yahoos in Texas decided that they were going to attack a National Guard convoy. Now, National Guardsmen in the United States, when they're called up and they're doing things like just doing basic transportation, logistics, making sure that people can get over here from one place to another. The things that the National Guard does. Like, when you call up the National Guard, it's like, we need fucking sandbags filled. They're not going to bring their guns because it's dumb. What do they need guns for? Nobody wants to keep track of that in a flood while everybody's digging and shoveling. So these guys aren't packing heat. And also, like, they shouldn't be, because look, in war, there's very clear rules of engagement. Well, not very clear, but there are rules of engagement. There's, here's when you can react, here's how you can react. Like, I can't even imagine if these National Guardsmen just, like, if these guys because they pulled over and they pulled a gun on them. Like, they started trying to run the National Guard off the road, and then blocked them on the road at gunpoint, made them get out, lied to them about being part of some inspection thing, and then just rifled through everything. Now, the headline is a little bit incorrect, because, well, it's not. It was a COVID vaccine convoy, but they weren't attacking it because of that. They were attacking it because they thought that the National Guard was trafficking children. So, it's not anti-vaxxer insane people. It's the stolen babies insane people who think that apparently the National Guard is now part of this. And, that whole, like, drop that we have right now in how much people believe in, or, the positivity rates they have for various institutions in the government. The military is always ranked very high. Ooh, we're not so high anymore. We're not low. But when you go from 80 to 60 in about like a 3-month time span, this is the kind of shit that happens. And this is also, I mean, honestly, this is your precursor to American technicals. Now, look, y'all know, I love technicals. I have a whole stickers. I have done episodes on them. I've done the history of technicals. I've talked about the Toyota Wars on Joe Kasabian's podcast, Lions Led by Donkeys. I've talked about it on the Where There's Your Problem podcast. I love technicals. I think that they are an incredible piece of, I love ingenuity. I love anything. Anytime a soldier is just like, man, what if we just, took this, DSHK machine gun and welded it in the back of Muhammad's fucking Hilux he's got over there. Fucking whatever. We've got moving suppressive fire. So I love technicals because it's just, a tank is boring. Like, everybody's got a tank. You get a tank. Russians got a tank. British got a tank. Australians got our tank, really. But everybody's got a tank. And that's all nice and well and good. But there's just, you're in a tank. It's like, nowadays they're like these impervious fucking shells that, like, it takes massive amounts of energy and time to get into. But this, man, you and your buddy, like, anybody can do this. Like, you need somebody who knows how to drive a truck, and you need to have somebody who knows how to shoot a gun. And, baby, you got a technical going. So I am all about the technical from like a history kind of area, but like what we're seeing now is kind of a precursor to seeing fucked up F-250 Super Duties with shitty little machine guns in the back, or just a bunch of, like, I don't even know, like, the one thing that is going to kind of help us out here is that it's very difficult to get a fully automatic, crew serve weapon in America without going through without being on a list. Like if you have an fully automatic weapon, you are on a government list. You have paid money for the license and the stamps and everything to do that. So you're not going to find just a bunch of like Russian shit. And it's just not going to, like there's no open, well, I don't know. I mean, if there's like a full insurgency going on in America, maybe Russia or Libya or anybody who's just got like a bunch of Cold War era shit or just built their own stuff and be like, hey, here you go. Here's, they're going to start arming the rebel groups. I don't know. It would make sense. It would destabilize all of America and make us all fucking collapse in on ourselves, which, I mean, it kind of seems like we're heading in that direction regardless. So, but upside, cool technicals, right? Look at these guys. Look at this little, that's anti-air, man. That is like, you can't, and also the one that I put, that's the fucking rocket pod one. Look at that shit, dude. Like this one here, this has got to be a, this is when you and your buddies just try to see how much shit you can get away with. Like, I feel like, because I mean, that thing's got to fall apart. Like that rocket pod's got to catch that thing on fire. But hey, who am I to tell? I mean, maybe these guys, won. Maybe this fucking pirate here with the RPG fucking I don't know, got the pirate booty or something. Who fucking knows? But look at that, man. It's just, I love it. I love technicals, but it's going to be real fucked up if we start seeing them here, especially to, knock over supply chains like this. But this is the world we just kind of live in now, unfortunately. This is, and I don't know how to fix this. Like, it's not something that's going to work its way out. It's like it's an infection. It's going to fester if you don't excise it, if you don't treat it, if you don't do something about it. And it is good. Like, I know that there's been a lot of like eye rolling at people who like after January 6th kind of like shook their heads and said, "Whoa, I can't believe that I've been I've been duped by this entire time," like to believe in something for so long, for many, many years, and then to see it just like provably be thrown in your face that no, everything that you thought was going to happen didn't happen. A lot of people were just like, wow, maybe I need to take a break here. Maybe I need to take a step back. Maybe I need to see somebody about this. Some people did that. Some people remained the same because they didn't care which Republican was in charge. They didn't give a shit. And then you got this now. You've got your Al-Qaeda dudes who are going to be doing shit like this. I mean, they pulled a gun on American soldiers. I don't want to say that's light treason. I'm just saying, don't pull a gun on soldiers, man. That ain't gonna work out well for you. Or maybe it will, man. Fucking, we've gotten our asses handed to us by dudes wearing pajamas and carrying AK-47s for fucking decades. So, who knows? Maybe this time the South can break away on their own. Fucking if I know. All right. So today's offering is going to be from. Ooh, I bring up my thing. So this is from a magazine called All Hands Abandoned Ship. Now this one is. Let's see, a Vietnam-era anti-war publication for sailors at the Newport Naval Base in Rhode Island. It was published from 1970, 1972, and 73. It combined with other New England anti-war publications, 99th Bummer, Undertow, Morning Report, Free Fire Zone, and Off the Brass, to form the New England Military News. Now, I did a little bit of research into that. New England Military News, all I can find is like the first edition that they put out. It's not clear if they put out anymore. The website that I get this from has a lot of scans of these things, but they can only scan what they have. So a lot of these zines just might be, lost to time in history. I mean, I'm sure nobody's scanning, the zines I did a couple of years ago into Harvard databases. So you get the history that you can find. But this one is really interesting because I found a lot of these other ones, 99th Bummer, Undertow, and it makes sense because, I mean, like, look, honestly, all these magazines are saying pretty much the same thing, all of these articles. That's why last time I did this, I did something from the Lowell offering, and I've been finding a lot of feminists, around this era, not necessarily anti-Vietnam, because some of these were post-Vietnam, but, late 70s, early 80s, the feminist magazines and everything. So we're going to get to some of those. I wanted to stop back over into the anti-war because this one is really good because it is kind of a discussion on how it's well. Let's just go through it and you'll see. All right. We are all part of a great military-industrial complex that grows and nurtures itself on racism, fascism, imperialism, and destruction. It is self-sufficient. It is a self-sufficient system which plays on people's fears to promote and increase its own growth. The military must be racist because it believes in the supremacy of white over black, or white over yellow, or white over red, or any other color. Nationalist pride has become fascist egalitarianism. Self-defense has deteriorated into army investigations of civilians, dossiers on private citizens, support of insurgent forces willing and able to take over incumbent governments, and underground special forces operating in foreign countries with the sole purpose of undermining that government. So around when these were coming out, this is when, if you don't know too much about Vietnam, the front half of Vietnam was very boots on ground. That's when there was a lot of American casualties because there was a lot of people going out into Vietnam doing these patrols. Later on, it started moving more towards an air war. So the air war was when you had all the napalm, the Agent Orange. It was just and this is not to say that there was. It's just a switch of there's more boots on the ground in the beginning than there was air power, but that doesn't mean that there weren't both happening at the same time. But also, this is when it stopped being the Vietnam War and becoming kind of the Indochina War, because this is when Laos, Cambodia, and other surrounding countries started to get bombed as well. Thumbs up, fucking Henry Kissinger. So this is, and as I said, this is you listen to these things. It's the same shit that we're fighting over now. It's the same fucking garbage like back then that was happening that's happening now. It's just. Now we have Twitter for all the generals to go and say, we're going to make a change, and then fucking nothing changes. All right. Economic imperialism is self-evident in a country which controls 90% of the world's wealth. We believe that such displays of patriotic nationalism are overreactions based on fear and selfishness. In an age when people must come together, conditioning like this must be disestablished or destroyed. So, deprogramming soldiers, which is an interesting concept that I think that some conversation should be had around. Is not necessarily deprogramming as if they're brainwashed, but kind of you are, but more of a how do you reintegrate the soldier back into being a normal person. All right. Another kind of oppression that we must relate to is male supremacy. Men have consistently viewed women as only sexual objects and not as equal human beings. The military perpetuates false ideas of what it means to be a man or a woman. The Navy in particular discourages meaningful relationships between men and women, whether married or single. By its very nature, the Navy distorts social relationships and creates the Liberty Port and the Home Port syndrome. In both instances, women play a secondary and subservient role as a wave, as a Navy wife, or as a Navy wife or a Navy whore. Our sisters are now standing up in the fight, and it is right because it is their fight too, and we need them. Again, hey, that's everything that we've been talking about here in 2020 to 2021. It all comes back the fuck around. I mean, this is Vietnam, so obviously things were like there's a lot of drafted soldiers. There's a lot of people who didn't want to be in the military who were forced into it. That's why you had a lot of this, and that's why I read from these because. It seems the only voices we ever hear from Vietnam are the people who still can't shut up about how they were in the Vietnam War. You don't really hear these things because these people have moved on from that time in their life. So it's really refreshing and also kind of aggravating to reach back, 50, 60 years ago and see the same fights that we're having now are still happening. To say our ideals are right and just and then live by them is moral. If in this action others are drawn together, that's cool too. But to impose our ideals and systems on anyone for their own good, actually for our own good, is conceit and arrogance to the individual and imperialism in the country. To say we are or must be imperialistic because someone else is, the commie reds, is a paranoid reaction which is self-destructive and only serves to defeat our original ideas. The United States is economically and politically imperialistic in its actions towards Asia, Latin America, Africa, and everyone who we do not control economically. If these are our ideals, then they should be disestablished before their self-destructiveness inundates the world. Too late. We stand together with all people to disestablish such actions and build a system on love, kindness, tolerance, and equal rights, and power to all the people. We stand with our fellow service members and servicemen and servicewomen who realize these inconsistencies and are willing to fight to change them. The hassles which result must be dealt with in the spirit of togetherness, or divided we will fall. We'll expose these hassles, oppressions, and violations of our civil liberties, which we face each day in the Navy, and will publicize the struggles against them. Finally, we want to express our fundamental agreement with our brothers in the Midwest writing their paper, The Navy Times Are A-Changin'. The idea behind this paper is to start to bring ourselves together so we can protect ourselves and participate in the creation of a better world based on justice and freedom. Are you willing to stand up and protect your rights as thousands of brothers and sisters already have already done, or are you a tiny gear helping to drive the machine? All power to the people. So again, these are all like reaches back into a past that like I feel like people forget about. Like I've seen a lot of people talking about how like the left has been, up until like 2016 or so has been this weird sputtering, roiling mess or something. And maybe it has and maybe it hasn't, but like there are absolutely, there were people before us, and there were people who were fighting against these things once upon a time as well. And it's because they were forced into a system that they wanted no part of. These people would not have been radicalized. Well, some of them I'm sure would have been. But also I believe most people wouldn't have been radicalized if they were not forced into a war that they didn't sign up for, that they didn't want to go to. They were, and that they were dealing, if you think the sexism and racism in the military is bad now, it was way worse, 55 years ago. And these are the voices of the past, crying for the exact same things that we still fight for today. And again, also, I feel like these are really important because these are military voices, and I'm a retired veteran from the Army. And there's a lot of us out there. There are a lot of left-leaning soldiers, and you know what? Maybe they're not as anti-war as I am, and maybe they're not as far left as you would want them to be, but it's still good to have them on your side, because guess what? Soldiers think that people should have universal health care. Soldiers think that people should, not go hungry, because a lot of soldiers go hungry. A lot of soldiers are on food assistance. A lot of soldiers need financial help because of, one reason or another. It's just kind of the way of the world. So, I just want to really kind of put out there that these are the voices that once were, and these are the voices we can be today. And these are the voices we are still today. So I look forward to continuing to do these. Next time I do one of these, I'm going to try to pull from some of the feminist magazines, or something else from the Lowell offering, because I've been really enjoying reading through that. Though that one is hard to parse because, while we are speaking the same language, the wording in this one is a little off for me, but the stuff from the 1840s it's difficult to get your brain around it to read it out loud because I believe that words should be in a certain order, and in the 1840s they had it in a different order, or they had completely different words. So that's kind of where I'm at with doing this. But I really love doing this. I love once a week finding something and kind of sharing it out there and talking about it and talking about current events and everything going on. So I absolutely will continue doing these, and I hope you guys will continue watching them. So until next week, we'll talk to you later.